Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents An Equation with One Unknown by Vasily Mahanenko. Translated by Colin Parker. Narrated by B.J. Harrison. Chapter 1. If you have a cool plan, but have not considered the risks, you may remove your pants with confidence and use your plan for its true purpose. Although even here, there are options. Wipe or insert. It's up to the individual. But one thing is for sure. The plan will not succeed. I'm telling you this in my capacity as a former project manager. In which case, let Operation Rip 'em to Shreds begin. The province of Lokdar will be ours. Eradani ran his finger all businesslike down the list of clan ratings, hovering momentarily over several competitors. I was observing closely and remembering, when suddenly from the street came the invocatory shouts of a guardian. "Demons in the city! The western wall has fallen! Action stations!" The registrar froze like a Madame Tussauds creation, mid-conversation with a client, and we received a notification. Location scene. Defense of Lokdar. Description. Demons, levels 40 to 80, have penetrated the western wall and swept into the city. Understand who you are, a hero or a coward. Do you take on all comers, or do you hide in your holes? Remaining demons, 220. Time to end of scene, 2 hours, 30 minutes. Rewards will be issued in accordance with contribution to defense. General chat. Vardunas. All players in the location. I am the leader of the clan Ruward. This is our location. Touch even one demon, and you sign up for rebirth. Everyone's so cocky. My partner didn't let me finish, dragging me quickly outside and sprinting off. Where are we going? To fight? To fight, he echoed in reply. I could barely keep up with Eradani. He moved swiftly, as though he knew the city inside and out. We had to dodge oncoming players and NPC guardians. After accidentally elbowing a bewhiskered warrior and receiving a contemptuous look in return, I realized that, unlike most, we were running away from the point of penetration. Eradani? I looked around, lost. Where are we going? He heard me, but didn't stop or slow down. Eradani. Why are you stopping? We have to find shelter. Kvalen. What for? Everyone's running to fight. No answer. Something crashed and clanged above us, and I involuntarily started after the tiefling. I caught up to him by a dilapidated building enveloped in scaffolding, and only then because he'd stopped. This is your genius plan? Scamper around like rats for the whole game? Yes, but live rats. Get a move on. Not waiting for a reply, he pulled me towards the rickety entrance to the building. His behavior confused me. No sooner had he pulled me backward into the darkness, his hand over my mouth, than I heard someone land heavily on the cobblestones. Dust scattered down. Eradani let me go with a quiet shh. We held our breath and froze. I can feel you. An evil whisper. The tips of my horns and tail began to itch excruciatingly, like my crotch in real life whenever I sensed danger. Go, 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 Eradani whispered, and tore into the depths of the building, shoveling building rubble aside with his hands. There's a basement. Half-bloods. I can smell your fear. The Overlord will be pleased. Curiosity is no sin, but its punishment is painful, as I discovered when I lingered to look back at the door. 2 wooden objects, my forehead and a ceiling beam, clashed almightily, resulting in tangible losses. The beam was sizably dented, and I lost a hard-hitting 100 HP. But I did get a look at our pursuer. Nothing special. Only a massive steroid demon with a boss pictogram and laser pointers for eyes. His level 80 was enough for me to switch into warp speed and hightail it after my partner. By now, I was in full support of Eradani's tactic. Run. Run like the wind. Run like you've never run before. Attacking such a beast at our level was akin to giving ourselves up as sacrificial lambs. Pray. I couldn't see, but I could feel the demon's snout beaming with the thrill of the chase. I hadn't managed to avoid his laser eyesights. Debuff received. Stun. You are immobilized for 30 seconds. Despite the description, I still had some control over my body. Heavily, and scrabbling for each centimeter, I was moving. The training camp sessions swam up in my consciousness. There was just me and the route to the basement. No falling girders, clattering sounds, or distant shouts from the resistance. Just me and the passageway. By chance I heard the boss successfully negotiate the narrow entrance, demolishing the scaffolding in the process. Somewhere in another universe, Eradani was yelling. The dark basement doorway was enticing, and seemed a safe oasis in all the bedlam. Of course, this was self-deluding, and the demon would easily get through. But it was best not to think about that. Suddenly, a large wooden chandelier flew down from the ceiling, describing an arc on its supporting rope before disappearing behind me. I hoped it would at least hinder the demon, if not stop him. Bam! My peripheral vision caught shards from the once fine light fixture. It didn't stop the demon. The heavy breathing drew nearer. The back of my neck broke out in goosebumps. Damn, damn, damn! You are mine. My chest tightened. What could be worse than feeling the hot breath of an incubus on your back? My eyes began in absolute seriousness to search for the exit button. You'll never take me alive. But the button kept mysteriously slipping out of focus. WTF! I couldn't concentrate, either because of the stun or because I was panicking. Suddenly, Eradani shot off ahead, seizing my hand and pulling me after him as best he could. The boss's taloned paw only managed to graze my clothes. After that, I remember a kaleidoscope of hard stone steps, the last of which triggered a supernova flare in my conscious, and everything began to fade. Somewhere in the distance, a terrible ruckus sounded. Dust drifted down, and I sailed off into a blessed darkness known as blackout, a 1-minute debuff. Come on, you filthy rat, open your eyes! Something vile was being poured into my mouth. I regained consciousness slowly, allowing myself to feel the difference between the process in reality and here. I'd had concussion once before, and was off sick for 2 weeks. My wife spoon-fed me healthy soup, tucked in my bedsheets, and flicked back and forth between Sport 1 and Muzz TV, because it was hard for me to even wiggle the toes of my right foot. In Barliona, everything was sorted with a flask of healing potion, and your body was instantly ready for new feats. Are we in a basement? Where is it? I asked, wiping my eyes. The race abilities of fire tieflings provided nothing of use in the dark. A thick pall obscured the view, scarcely revealing the outlines of objects. It was just enough to move forward, but sightseeing was out of the question. Where else? Eradani replied to my first question, and sent me a link to a map of the location. In lieu of an answer to the second question, I heard dull thumps and a wrathful snarl from above. The doorway was securely blocked, and the incubus was searching for a way to get to us. What the hell's it latched onto us for? I wondered, opening the map. The part of the basement we were in was an extended corridor with a stairway going up at one end and a foggy patch at the other. The image was 2D and primitive, with different colored triangles representing us, but it was now easier to navigate. "Have you not read tales about dragons?" asked my partner for some reason. "I have." "Well, this incubus, like those dragons, only likes good-looking but stupid virgins," sniggered Eradani, hinting at the inexpedient inquisitiveness which had nearly got me nabbed by the incubus. "Old experienced perverts, too," I said. "And in actual fact, Kvalen, it's chasing us because we're tieflings." Scene update. Defensive Lokdar. 219 demons destroyed. Vardunas. "Guys, has anyone seen the boss? 1,000 gold for any info." "The Ruward lads are sharp," came Eradani's voice through the haze. "Enough lying around. It won't take the boss a minute to pick that pile of rocks apart." "Let's write to Vardunas that the boss is here," I suggested. 1,000 gold and riddance of the demon struck me as an excellent conclusion to a game session. "Absolutely not. We must categorically not show our faces. Until our castle is level 3, better even level 5, we lay low, out of sight of the other clans," said Eradani too quickly and too vehemently. Intuition told me he was hiding his true motives. "If anything happens, we kill ourselves. Let's go and see what lies ahead." Ahead were silence and murk. Unable to trust my vision, I felt the walls. Nothing. No furniture, no crates, no random garbage. Just cold, bare stone. Eradani made his way along the adjoining wall, and the map automatically added the contours of the room. Wall, corner, wall, doorway, spiral staircase leading down. A crash confirmed my partner's suspicions about the boss's abilities. It was making its way through the rocky barrier very quickly. I began to doubt it was after us because of our race. "Down!" The blue triangle set foot on the staircase first, updating the map as it went and adding the second level. My hands on the wall to be safe, I followed him warily. Fortune, or the system, rewarded my caution as my splayed fingers almost immediately stumbled upon a cold shaft. Probing the object fleetingly, I recognized it as a torch. Obviously my inventory contained no tinderbox or matches, but I took the torch with me anyway. "Quake, traitors! I'm coming for you. I smell your sweet fear." The snarl heralded the boss's breakthrough to the first level of the basement. I was concerned what the brute's night vision was like. Worse than ours would be all right with me. The stairway was strewn with rocks, significantly frustrating our descent. In places, the passageway was so narrow I could hardly squeeze through. If the boss could make it, nothing would stop it. Sure enough, I got stuck. Unlike the scrawny Eradani, my character had a healthy, fleshed-out physique. "Give me your hand." He tried to haul me through. "No. Go into settings and remove your breastplate. It's getting in the way." "Close. I smell traitors." Our relentless pursuer was already at the stairs. Bam! The building shuddered. Stones and dust showered my back. The demon was digging a new entrance, made to measure for its size. "Go, go, go!" Progress was much easier without the breastplate, and the passageway became wider anyway. Eradani ran ahead, occasionally glancing back. At some point he activated a deceleration scroll and lobbed it deftly behind me. I followed its flight with my eyes, and seeing the results, automatically activated retreat. The demon's head appeared in the new hole, and the scroll smacked it right on the forehead, guaranteeing to slow it down by 50%. Down! Another stairway. I followed my partner, confused as to why we were going stubbornly deeper when it would have been so much simpler to die upstairs next to a guardian. On the third level, it became clear this was the end. Eradani stood in the middle of a wide corridor, his torch held high. I had to shield my eyes from the blinding light. But I'd seen what there was to see. A dead end. Unable to believe our bad luck, Eradani lit my torch and gestured for me to inspect the walls. We took one each, thoroughly examining the blackened plasterwork, and met back at the stairs. "Hooey," said Eradani. Had I been asked to describe his condition, I would have said he'd got 5 balls out of 6 in the lottery, crashing and burning at the last. I imagined, real as life, Fortuna slowly drawing 5 balls, each time lingering to prolong the intrigue, and throwing the 6th ball down on the table without really looking at it, before breaking out in triumphant laughter. "No bingo, dipshits." I was mistaken, Kvalen. There are no... What there were none of, I didn't find out. The boss broke through to our level, showering us with dust and pebbles. We squashed ourselves virtually flat against the opposite wall.
"The hunger for the chase spurs me. You are mine."
Claws extended toward us, eager to embrace us before death, or whatever he wanted from us. This time I found the exit button straight away, but I knew I wouldn't press it. If I left, Kvalen's body would remain in danger, along with my partner. His level 14 was no match for 80, and scrolls wouldn't help here. Unless Aluna herself should deign all of a sudden to descend to this nether world to assist the outcasts. Oh, yes, Aluna! There was no time to think. It was now or never. First, I knocked Eradani out with an accurately placed hoof. He knew nothing about it, flying to the side, sliding down the wall, and slumping to the floor, while I ran ahead, directly into the incubus's embrace. The boss's paws closed in, and a symphony of emotions struck up in my chest. Hatred, precipitously replaced by bitterness, then agitation, tenderness, and a bunch more uncharacteristic feelings besides. In real life, I was sparing with my emotions, so I understood the clear distinction between the tiefling Kvalen, nestling in the paws of a love demon, and Brody West, lying in capsule number, whatever. "Gotcha, red face," I growled, hugging the demon back. I required a second to disorient it, which I got and used to shove my burning torch right into his laser eye. What a fortuitous piece of loot. The boss snorted, more from surprise than from the impact or pain, and while it was shaking its head, I snatched a ring from my inventory and put it on one of the boss's horns. Now it was bingo. A pity there was no full-blown celebration. I had just 50% from the demon, and disagreeable sensations were only switched on to 10%, but the large platinum ring of Aluna put a serious dent in that, twisting each nerve and relieving me of my mind. I wanted to die sooner to be done with it all. "You have claimed an unnamed incubus. Subjugate its will, enslave, and name it. The demon will become your eternal slave, capable of fulfilling its master's fantasies." I didn't fully understand the message at first, but I got the gist. Incubus, slave, fantasies. No big deal. The ring's action radius was so wide, it even caught Eradani, who lay whimpering and hunched in a fetal position by the wall I'd kicked him against. The boss was in a far sorrier state, dropping me, grabbing its head, and howling as it tried to pull out its horn. It couldn't touch the light object. A bouquet of debuffs riveted me to the floor, forcing me to lie there and behold the agony of the enemy. Utterly berserk, the demon charged and battered its head against the blind wall. The building shook, earthquake style, before the incubus began to thrash about along the corridor, clattering now into one wall, now into the other. I contemplated our situation with a sinking feeling. It remained to wait for the boss to kill himself before we could retrieve the ring, if the Ruwards didn't get to us first. "Hi, horn boys." The ringing female voice silenced even the incubus. 3 silver lightning flashes, and the boss ceased its thrashing and collapsed on the floor beside me. The proximity of the ring made everything even hazier. Realizing I would not survive the prolonged agony, I reached out to the boss's horns. I felt a stabbing pain in my heart, and my consciousness muddied for a second, but I managed to swipe the ring and shove it back into my inventory. The will of the unnamed level 80 incubus has been suppressed. Destroy the boss and gain its essence for later embodiment. Sapped of strength, I closed my eyes and let my head flop to the floor. Something cold brushed my cheek. Opening one eye a crack, I saw boots made of thin leather. I could muster just enough strength to study them. They were beautiful and stylish and well made. I always had a weakness for fine leather footwear. It would be a shame if the wearer of these boots was not worthy of them. "Do you like them?" I winked an affirmative reply. "Me too. Have a look from this angle." With a chuckle, the girl turned her foot, and my eye was presented with a masterfully fashioned and wetted heel. In response to the unambiguous threat, I found the strength to roll over onto my back, out of the line of attack, and let my gaze wander slowly over the lady's figure. "Had a good eyeful?" the owner of a marvelous bust asked, before jerking me to my feet and cutting short my detailed inspection of the sights. The view from above wasn't half bad either. Her eyes were 2 pieces of heaven, sent down to the sinful earth at the behest of the gods to aid a level 243 huntress. I would not have called Varmilda beautiful, but there was something about her. Her sharp, even mildly coarse features repelled and attracted in equal measure, forcing me to study each square centimeter of her face. I cannot say she was to my taste, but I certainly wasn't averse to consorting with her for a while. "Madam." I bowed my head in greeting and flicked my tail, acknowledging her part in my deliverance from the incubus. "What are you doing here?" intoned the siren unctuously, batting her eyes. Part of me wanted to recount my completion of the training camp, exile, creation of a clan, and evasion of a demon, but the other, much smaller part, Brody West, resisted. It didn't understand why Kvalen wanted to open up to the first girl he met, even if she was interesting. When the irrational intervened, the Brody in me eased the Kvalen aside, and I mumbled, "Playing with incubi." Basically, Ruward bagged themselves a boss, and you showed up. Thunderclouds obscured her heavenly eyes. My desire to confide disappeared in a clash, and clarity of thought returned. I shook my head to chase away the remains of the illusion, and regarded the huntress with my own eyes. Asian-looking, an excessive attachment to spiky objects, craggy facial features. The attraction soon fizzled out. Nothing special. I'd seen better. Eradani. Kvalen, +1 to respect. She used Siren's pollen to win your favor, a banned substance. If the Guardians find out, she'll be imprisoned. Don't look at me. Distract her. The information was most timely, and everything became crystal clear. The huntress shrugged, took a silver arrow from her quiver, and loaded it into the drawn horn bow that materialized in her hands. That's their problem. A 4th silver lightning bolt flashed, and the location closed. Scene completed. Defense of Lokdar. See Deputy Governor for issue of rewards. Upgrades gained. Experience +8 until next level 80. Reputation with Light of Barliona faction increased by 3. You received the essence of a nameless incubus. This object is not bound to any player and may be transferred or sold. I was delighted with this last message. Somehow I would fulfill my fantasies without the incubus. It needed selling or giving to someone soon. Maybe Varmilda? Oh yes, speaking of gifts, the archeress had destroyed the boss, so there was no reward for that. The experience was for the scene. 5 basic points, 1 for the pod, and a couple for charisma. I urgently needed to shell out for experience gems, then level up intensely and for a long time. Everything looked distinctly woeful without the training camp coefficient. The girl approached the incubus and grumbled. Filth. Boss my ass. Not worth the arrows. General chat. Vardunas. Which bastard felled the boss? Maybe you're not looking in the right place, I snickered. Maybe it is the reward. Do you need it? Varmilda rolled her eyes. General chat. Varmilda. It was Kvalen and Eradani. I'm a witness. Old workshop, basement, level 3. I couldn't even find the words. The rewards would now come running, snuff us out, and deal with it. Or maybe they wouldn't, and this critter would go into hiding. General chat. Kvalen. She's lying. It was she who killed the boss. I can prove it. Varmilda laughed sonorously. Take care, horn boys. With these words, the character dissolved into the air, and the player became invisible. Unfortunately, the boss disappeared along with Varmilda, denying us even the smallest reward for our trouble. Kvalen, help! We've got 1 minute, Eradani shouted. While I'd been dealing with the huntress, my partner had reached the place where the boss collided with the wall and begun to dismantle it, loosening the stones with his pickaxe. A twinkle of silver. I joined him, helping liberate a smooth metal door from under the stonework covering. What is it? Varmilda's voice rang out. Our ticket to freedom, mumbled Eradani. The archeress materialized nearby and set about groping the metal plate for signs of a handle, a hole, anything. She found nothing. But her movements were very feminine, and instead of being indignant, I imagined myself in place of the door, her fingers boldly following the relief and stopping enthusiastically at, now then, Brody West, 238,682 multiplied by 333 equals... You have successfully resisted Siren's pollen for a second time in 10 minutes. You gain immunity to the powder for 24 hours. Varmilda shrugged once more and went invisible. My joy at the message was interrupted by a shout from Eradani. There's a hireling from the Cranes group. It's a setup so they can get to the treasure. If the archeress even reacted to the allegations concerning these Cranes, I wasn't meant to know about it. She reappeared as a petrified doll, accompanied by 2 pointy-eared bandits, Garleem and Shamble, levels 187 and 226, respectively. The emblem of the Ruard Guard stood out proudly by their names. A setup, you say? Said Garleem, playing with some daggers. Perhaps it was you who wanted to set her up. What's that door? Who are the Cranes? Eradani was silent. We stood and watched Vardunas appear. The head of the clan squeezed through the door and began barking orders. Bind Varmilda and take her to the deputy governor. Let her sit a while in jail. We'll interrogate her there. Take the tieflings to the castle. I wonder how they knew about the cash. Crack the door and take the treasure. Jump to it. Vardunas played for the shaman, but for the chief of a location's top guild, his level was an inadmissibly low 33. were it not for the demon hacking its way.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?